want to take another little kind of left turn here. I mean, we're entering the kind of the segment of the podcast that we want to talk about the Rising Tide micro course, which is the section where, you know, you're the professor, and I just really want you to speak to our audience about, you know, top 2 or 3 steps about a specific thing. And you and I talked briefly about this before, but I'm really interested in the meetup space. Could you focus in just on, you know, speaking of a micro course, this is a, you know, micro focus on a micro course. So how would you, if you were starting again from scratch and you were trying to get a business off the ground or business idea off the ground, what would be 2 or 3 strategies that you would use to use Meetup? And if I'm really throwing him a curve here, so if he pulls this off, he's amazing. He's he's an ad lib unicorn here. So
this is a great idea. No one has ever asked me this, and I've thought about this a lot. So this is super cool.
I was not primed before the show.
Yeah, for sure. No, this is a great question. And it's actually super frustrating because people ask this all the time, how should I get it started? And they never do it. So this is exactly how I would do it using Meetup and the exact tactics. We're going to get very specific here. So if you're not familiar with meetup.com, this might sound like a foreign language, but yeah, go to meetup.com. You can figure it out.
Hit pause right now and go to meetup.com and then come back.
That's right. And then come back. So yeah, first things first is keyword research. Keyword research is a whole topic in and of itself. I won't cover all of it today, but the basic idea is you can use third-party tools to figure out how much people are Googling certain terms, right? So, you know, if I was creating a product for water fasting, right? Or if I was creating a new type of shoe or create, you know, an online course or a consultancy, you can figure out how many people are Googling for that. And you can do that at the national level or the local level. It depends on your business. Won't go into the full details today, but the first thing I would do is keyword research to get a proxy for demand, right? So I have this idea. Do people actually want it? And the basic idea here is people should be Googling for it if they actually want it, if there's a market need for it.
Right.
Keyword research is a very kind of come to Jesus moment because what a lot of people do, this is a question a lot of people have. They say, I did my keyword research. Nobody's looking for my idea. What should I do? I have a really tough answer for you, and the answer is don't do that idea.
Don't do that.
Right? So the prerequisite here is that you have a reasonable hypothesis that people actually want what you're about to do. I would take that keyword research and probably name the meetup group exactly that or close to that, right? So I wanted to rank number 1 for San Francisco SEO, right? Or SEO San Francisco. And so I created the San Francisco SEO meetup, right? And so my primary keyword was in the URL, in the title, right? People were linking to it with those things. And so it was helpful for those rankings. But that actually is a minor piece. You set up Meetup. You need to be really specific about the categories you pick. So don't just pick everything. Be very specific about the categories. So, right, like there's going to be a lot of weird meetups in there, right? Men 50 plus interested in networking, women 50 plus interested in networking. Like I love hiking. I love, you know, pottery. Don't pick everything. Be very specific about the categories you pick because then Meetup's only going to, it's not going to blast all of them. It's going to blast what it thinks are the most likely, right? So pick those. Pay the $15, do it. Set up a meetup. I really liked happy hours on Thursdays at 6 p.m. It doesn't have to be drinking involved, but usually after work on a weekday, it's how you want to do it. Always make sure it's free and it's as little friction as possible. So sometimes they say, answer these questions about Meetup, answer to join. No friction. Don't make them do anything. Just one click and they're in. They should also automatically be added to the Meetup group when they add themselves to the event, right? These are settings that you can mess with in Meetup. Now here's the key. At the Meetup, you want to be asking people to leave reviews when they leave. So you need to be the host. And as they leave, you say, hey, by the way, you're going to get a reminder from Meetup tomorrow about how the Meetup went. I'd love an honest review if you can get a chance. And you want to get a couple of 5-star reviews on the Meetup, right? The key is, and this is what really worked very well, the day the Meetup ends, you set up a new Meetup.
Mm-hmm.
And you don't have to do it soon. It could be a month away. It could even be 2 months away. But there's 2 types of searches that people do on Meetup. One is for Meetup groups and one is for upcoming events.
Right.
right? And so what I did was when I set up the second event, I didn't even know if I was going to do it, but I hosted it a month out, and every day I would add 10 people, 10 people, 10 people, 10 people, 10 people. And then surprise, surprise, 2 weeks later, 100 people, 150 people, 200 people on this list, right? You suddenly have a digital asset then, right? And so that digital asset can grow, and you can move that digital asset around. Hey, and you like, this is probably breaking their terms of service, but I'll just say it. Hey guys, sorry, we had to postpone the meetup, but by the way, I have this online course. It's free. Click here to learn more, right? So, and now one thing I haven't played with, and Meetup was bought by WeWork. I have a bunch of friends at WeWork now. Someone might hear this and end up killing me, but I think Meetup has some fraud algorithms around. They don't want people to set up 1 million meetups in 1 million different cities. So I think there's something to hosting that first meetup in that first city where they see people checking in, and they can probably triangulate some fraud around it. But if you're in a place with a lot of different cities, like let's say you live in Los Angeles or New York and they're within driving distance, or you're on your business traveling, I think you might be able to pull this off in a couple cities. Like I do think you want to do that first physical in-person meetup to get it started, because it's likely you'd be marked as spam if they're detecting something fishy. But I think you could rinse, wash, repeat this strategy in a lot of different cities. So that's the way I would do it in terms of bootstrapping and email lists. And I think a lot of people still don't do it because it's hard. It's hard to meet new people. It's even if you're an extroverted person, it's anxiety inducing. It's hard to do the logistics. Some people are weird. A lot of Meetup people are weird. I have to admit, like, they're not always the coolest people. Of course, some are, but you have to deal with a lot of that. And so, that's exactly how I would start a new business with Meetup.
So I've got a Meetup group that I can email members, but can you actually see their email addresses? Can you export this to a mailing list, or is it all within the system itself?
Great question. I believe you cannot see their email address. It has to be messaging on their platform. I think some of them can opt into showing their email address, but that's going to be under 1%. The key is that they are on Meetup. They haven't changed their default, so they still receive messages, and you need to suck them out of the platform as quickly as possible.
So you're doing this through a lead page. How are you getting them transferred out of the system?
So I haven't done this in a while, but the way I did it in the past was, hey, it was all legitimate within terms of service. Hey, I'm doing a free SEO course, right? When you're physically doing the meetups, you could do some interesting things. Hey, here's my iPad to check in, right? Sure. And like take email addresses there. But the other thing too is just, hey, we have this, like I said before, doing this sort of, hey, we normally charge X number of dollars, but it's free for Meetup members for the first 20 members, some type of scarcity, right? Like, click here to grab it. And so, you could do whatever you wanted. A lead page. In my particular case, it was Udemy, and my own homepage for my own email list. So click here it was a landing page on my page that grabbed their email address, and then I gave them a link to Udemy when they signed up. Right.
All right. Yeah. I'm thinking like, click here for the kind of the notes before the meetup, or, whatever that magic thing is. But there's always ways around that. But so, I mean, marketing though through Meetup, you think that's against their terms of service, or, spamming group members?
I would generally not do it. I would mostly use Meetup for, hey, we have an event coming up, and hey, here's a thing to get for me to get you off the platform. I generally would, because people don't want to see it, and so it's only you're on borrowed time until you get marked as spam enough, right? So people only want to see announcements for upcoming meetups. They presumably want. The lead magnet-y thing off the platform is like, it's interruption marketing for sure, but it's like, oh, this is kind of annoying. Oh, wait, okay, that looks cool. Actually, I'll take it. Right. You just don't want to push it.
Right. And what a great course. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, just one last thing I just realized around partnerships too. So once I held my first meetup, I would then email all the other meetup owners, and I would say, hey, by the way, I see you have your group of 400 people. Feel free do you want to email them and tell them to come to my meetup, right? So there's a couple of gatekeepers within Meetup. If you can become friends with them, that can be really, really helpful. One thing that I did was I found someone who owned a really high volume, high audience meetup. And I just said, do you want to be a co-founder of my meetup? Right. And so like you can message, for first things first, I got 100 users in 3 days for $15. So don't be greedy about it. Like be liberal about it. Right. But then like, hey, you can be a co-host and message my users as long as it's reasonable, as much as you want, but can we blast into your list? He said, sure. And then, my list doubled. Right. They got some messages from this new guy, but like, I had nothing 4 days ago, right? So I mean, people are very, very protective about these things, but like when you grow it so quickly, it's much more advantageous to be cooperative, to find partnerships, and to be pretty liberal with it.
What a great! I mean, that as one of my friends used to say, that's stinking genius. I mean, invite Gary Vee to be a co-host of my meetup group.
Yeah, right. Gary, you can spam the users all you want, pal.